One of the most influential names in the industry, Kevin Brown, has long forecasted how edge computing would change businesses and people's lives. He joins me now at the Edge Congress in Austin, Texas, to talk more through the market. Kevin, thanks a lot for talking to me. Is edge computing a hype, or is it an actual thing?
I think it's probably a little of both, actually. So if that's an equivocal answer, but the reality is edge computing. It's certainly, in our view, it's starting to play out in real time in certain applications. Retail is one that we've talked about in the past, and you see it starting to happen. And in some cases, you've also got this, what's your definition of edge, which, as we're talking about here, this Edge Congress event, there's lots of different discussions about exactly what do we mean. So as an industry, we're still working on even defining what is edge, but what we know is the need for applications and the availability of applications has gone up, and as a result, this hybrid infrastructure of what we like to call local data centers, regional data centers, and cloud data centers is real and is going to be put in place. So that's kind of the real part of edge computing that's happening. And there's certainly going to be more use cases, and there's plenty of examples of those.
That's stuff that we can even imagine now.
As you can imagine, and as we're discussing today, there's lots of different use cases that we can think about. But I am concerned a little bit that the industry might be at the top of the hype cycle, as we like to call it, and that the expectations on edge have gotten very, very high. And some of what we started talking about is we were sharing some of the things that we're working on and some of the challenges that we think the industry still has in order to enable customers to realize the benefits that they're trying to get. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of there's real applications coming out, and we're starting to see the recognition of it, and we're making progress, but at the same time, there's an awful lot of work still to do.
But it's becoming more real as we talk, pretty much.
I think there's some really good evidence, particularly in the last couple of years, with examples in retail and in other places, as I mentioned.
Okay. And when it comes to edge infrastructure, what are the main challenges? Are we talking about connectivity, security, cyber and physical? What are the challenges you still see that haven't been really addressed?
Well, certainly it's all of those. But some of what we've started talking about is, edge computing starts driving you to think very much specifically about the application that you're trying to deliver to a customer and what is the level of availability that application needs. And what that's forcing is an ecosystem that has to work together in a way that's much different than what we've had to do in the past. So it's physical infrastructure, it's the IT equipment vendors, some customers usually manage service providers to provide services. How do I install these things? How am I going to maintain them? So for a customer, they're trying to get this whole ecosystem to come together and give a specific solution. And this is a challenge. These companies have to work together in different ways than what we've done in the past. I think there's implications on software, and I'm actually fairly optimistic we're making good progress. Certainly, our company has been doing a lot of work with certain partners like HP and Dell and Scale Computing and so forth. But there's still work to be done, but we're making progress and we're learning how to work together in a different way than I think we've had to in the past.
But in terms of a general industry sort of view, do you think companies are collaborating enough? Do they know how to collaborate in this new era?
Well, I think we're just getting started. Okay, so we're still learning as an industry, and again, there's good examples that are out there. We've made a lot of progress compared to where we were, certainly a year or even 2 years ago. But again, you're going to see software needs to get much more open. You need to be able to work more collaboratively with the channels and the vendors that are delivering these systems. These systems need to be delivered holistically as a kind of almost a compute block, and making sure that that's matching up for a customer what their specific application is and what they need. It's a different way of working than we have in the past. And like I said, I think there's good progress and good examples in the industry. And if you were at the event today, there's a number of them sitting out on the floor in terms of these integrated systems. So.
Okay. And then edge computing itself, it's a buzzword. We have an industry that's full of them. Big data.
I've noticed that. Yes.
They are everywhere. There's new ones coming. There'll be a new one. We can talk about a new one that you can see coming. How does the mesh of these buzzwords come together to deliver the edge? So big data, artificial intelligence.
Well, it's funny. Some of the things we started sharing today is we're starting to bring out artificial intelligence algorithms
that's another one.
to the market now. And one of the things that we've been discussing at some of the events is the challenges associated with that is I think it's going to take longer than everybody hopes. There tends to be, in my view, a belief that if I just wave this magic wand and call it AI, all of the problems go away. But if you look at what you actually have to do to implement AI, first of all, I have to be able to collect a huge amount of data to be able to have a data set that I'm going to work off of. We talk a lot about how do I normalize that data. So we have multiple different ways of talking about power, and how often is it going to be reported, what data, what parameters you are reporting back out of the devices, and somehow you got to normalize all of that into something. Then I got to take a subject matter expert who's going to develop a use case, and then I need the data scientist to actually design the algorithm, and then you test the algorithm, and then you start getting the algorithm actually working. This aspect of data normalization is a big challenge. And this is one of the reasons we're taking all of our software now and we're moving very much into a cloud architecture, because I really believe without using the cloud architecture and infrastructure, you're not going to be able to get the data, you're not going to be able to get it normalized and then have the compute power to really run the algorithms. And so this is some of the things that we were talking about today at the event. And to me, that's a bigger challenge where it's going to take, I think it's going to be a little bit longer and a little bit harder than what the industry thinks in order to get this to the benefits that everyone is hoping is going to come. But again, I think we're making some progress, but
it's not as fast as
it's not as fast as I think everybody would like to believe. It's just, there's just some big challenges with getting the data into a form so that then we can start doing interesting things with it.
Because people usually talk about 2020, and when 5G kicks in next year in 2020, that's when Ed will really peak up. So you think it will take a bit longer than 2020?
Well, that's an interesting debate about 5G and when that's going to. We've been talking about this for at least 5 years now, right?
More than that.
Even more than that. So I think 5G is what's going to happen is whatever we're predicting today, we're probably wrong, right? There's going to be new use cases that come up with new data. Everyone loves talking about driverless cars. Sure, right? That's going to be part of it. But what starts happening when all of a sudden I get the kind of bandwidth and low latency, what are the new applications that are going to come out? I think will be pretty interesting. And it'll be those new use cases which are going to drive what the infrastructure needs to be behind it. Right? And but again, back to how are we going to manage all this? How do we start doing it? Because I'm going to have data centers everywhere. That's the challenge where, we're simply not going to be able to have the staff to manage all of these in the way that we have in the past. So to get lights out, we need to implement AI. In order to get AI, we got to start collecting data, get it into cloud, and then we can do interesting things with it. But that's a process. Yeah. And these applications will develop over time. It'll evolve. It's I don't believe we're going to have this massive revolution of edge computing. Instead, it's going to be something that kind of creeps up on us. And but again, we need to respond, and I think we're doing okay.
Well, because even within that, there's more challenges with artificial intelligence. Getting the data scientists, only that one would be a challenge because there's not that many that are good to do this.
Well, and the tricky part is not only that I need the data scientist, but I've got to pair them up with a subject matter expert who understands a use case to start with, because you have to start. I like to think of artificial intelligence as augmenting human intelligence. Somewhere you have to have a subject matter expert that's teamed up with a data scientist. Then we can start creating algorithms, and then we can start applying machine learning techniques. The data scientist can apply the machine learning techniques to a data set. So basically, what it would have taken one guy to kind of look at a set of data and understand it, we can take it now and effectively get that much more, that expertise much more broadly available. So you really need the combination of those two. So the challenge is not only the data scientists, but also the use cases and the subject matter expertise, and you got to pair those together. And that's so anyway, that's our view anyway.
Okay, and then on the buzzword still, and then we're going to Schneider. What's the next one do you see coming? Beyond edge computing, artificial intelligence, big data, quantum computing, liquid infrastructure, there's a lot of them. What's the next one? What's the one that no one's talking about?
I got to be honest, I can't predict what the next big buzzword is going to be. It's too good a question. So it's
haven't read anything
we're still trying to bring nothing rambling around. I think you just gave enough to keep us busy for a while.
Okay. And then in terms of Schneider, what's new? We spoke a few months back. You were still developing some micro data centers, new infrastructure, new software. What's new? What's coming?
Well, as I mentioned, we just recently announced our EcoStruxure IT software, which is again, it's a major pivot for us to taking our management software and making it as part of a cloud architecture. And what's exciting about that is that's not only within kind of the data center world, but we're connecting all of the different aspects that Schneider works in, whether it's buildings, whether it's industrial process control, and we're getting all of that into where we can harmonize the data so across all of these different applications. So that to me is quite exciting. We've also made a lot of progress on the edge. In fact, today we just announced that we've designed now our NetShelter SX racks to be Cisco UCS certified. So this is the first time that a full broad set of racks are available so that we can actually ship them together. And so it took a different way for Cisco and Schneider to work together to come up with that solution.
And that essentially means that deployments will be faster as well.
The deployments should be faster and much easier, and easier for the channel partners also to participate in developing the solution. So we're really simplifying that with what we're doing with them. And then, as I mentioned, we continue to work on expanding our reference architectures on micro data centers. So we've got numerous ones of those that we're showing with, and again, I mentioned Scale and HPE, but we're doing work with Dell, and they had some things that they were showing here today, and we continue to expand those out as well. So we're pretty excited about some of that progress, and then coming this year, we're going to continue to refine and improve the management solution for these micro data centers, so that they start.
So the software side.
The software side, there's certainly a lot coming on that front that we still think we need to do. So.
And if we're going to go to St. Louis, your innovation center, why are you working on behind those doors?
Well, you'll have to come to St. Louis and we'll show you, and anybody else who wants to come.
So what's like the secret project, at least the name of the project?
We don't disclose secret projects. No, you can come and then we make you swear the oath, and then we'll show you what we're working on. So.
Okay, Kevin. And then just about the event quickly. We are at the Edge Congress 2018, 2019 is 12 months away. What's the one thing you think is going to get most spoken about, or a challenge is going to be overcome in the next 12 months? What's going to be the main shift that's going to happen in 12 months?
Well, again, I think you're going to continue to see this evolution, like we talked about, this evolution of how an ecosystem is going to continue to evolve and work together better. So that you'll continue to see improvement on that. I think you'll continue to see, the beginnings of what this AI thing can really mean for managing, these thousands of devices and thousands of mini data centers that I've got with limited staff. I think that'll continue to mature. I hope that, and I'll say this is as a hope as opposed to a prediction, is that the picture on the telco and 5G will start becoming much more clear over the next year. I think it's less cloudy than it was, less fuzzy than it was a year ago. So I would hope that as an industry, but a year from now, we've got a much clearer picture of what that rollout's going to look like.
Okay, can't wait to start talking about 6G as well.
Yeah, 6G. Well, that'll be next.
That'll be yes. Okay, Kevin, thanks a lot for talking to me. Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.